The air inside the briefing chamber hummed with tension, not from the mission, but from the laughter. It rolled in waves from the cluster of galactic soldiers at the far end, their scaled, horned, and bioluminescent forms casting odd shadows across the walls. Lieutenant Carowin stood alone near the hollow display, silent and still, her spine rigid against the weight of their ridicule. One of the Egron soldiers, a hulking brute with mandible-lined jaws, gestured toward her with a claw. "Is that the human sniper? I thought they sent drones now." A ripple of chuckles passed through the group. Kara didn't flinch. She didn't look at them either. Her eyes stayed fixed on the flickering terrain projection, jungle ridges, canyons laced with EM anomalies, and red dots representing known insurgent strongholds. Another voice, smooth, mocking, spoke up behind her. "They say Earth soldiers close their eyes and pray when they shoot. Or was that just myth?" The speaker was Vashan, a tall Sithari officer with iridescent skin and a permanent smirk. He leaned in slightly. "Tell me, Lieutenant Wynne, do you hold your breath when you aim, or do you just hope the gods of probability smile down on you?" Kara exhaled slowly through her nose. "Neither. I just hit the target." A few snorts answered her, but one or two soldiers turned their heads, subtle, uncertain. The commander, a weary-looking AI-integrated humanoid named Marshal Deneuve, cleared his throat, silencing the room. "The mission is simple," he said, voice sharp and clipped. "We're to sweep the southern jungle quadrant of Dranix 4. Insurgent activity has increased, too coordinated for random pocket. You'll deploy in teams of 4. Expect resistance, biological and synthetic." Kara barely heard the rest. She was already planning her path through the terrain, mentally charting angles, elevations, wind vectors. She had read the insurgents' patterns, knew the spots where EM distortion would blind aerial drones. Places where only eyes, and a steady hand, would matter. When the groups were assigned, Kara was left solo. Deneuve didn't correct it. As the soldiers filed out, Vashan passed her again, chuckling. "Stay near the dropship, human. We'd hate for you to get lost in the green." She didn't answer. She watched his back, silently filing away his position, gait, weight distribution, even how his rifle slung unevenly across his spine. Information. Always information. Outside, the heat hit like a wall. The jungle seethed with life, every leaf pulsing with bioluminescent veins, every breath filled with damp, electric tension. Kara slipped through it like smoke. While the alien soldiers stomped and scanned with noisy tech, she crouched low and moved with deliberate grace, her rifle secured against her shoulder, her breath measured, her senses tuned to the pulse of the wild. They thought she was just another soft-skinned anomaly, a remnant of Earth's past glory. What they didn't know, what they refused to understand, was that Kara Wynne didn't come here to prove herself. She came here to hunt. An hour into the mission, a scream tore through the comms, garbled, panicked. Static swallowed the rest. She halted. From a high ridge, she scanned through her analog scope. No power signatures, no thermal overlays, just glass and skill. Down below, a Sithari squad was under fire, the terrain crawling with insectoid insurgents. The aliens had no formation, no cover discipline. Panic made them reckless. Kara adjusted the scope, held her breath, and squeezed the trigger. One clean shot. The lead biomecha's skull popped like fruit. The others hesitated, then scattered. "Confirmed kill," she murmured into her comm, though no one was listening. A moment later, her earpiece hissed. "Who fired that shot?" "That was unauthorized." "Vashan." Kara didn't reply. She was already moving, melting back into the foliage, leaving behind only the silence and a single empty casing nestled in the moss. They would continue laughing, maybe. But not for long. The jungle didn't sleep. It pulsed, breathed, whispered in a language older than the stars. Kara moved through it like a thought, silent, precise, untraceable. Above, the distant hum of alien drones crackled and faltered as electromagnetic storms rolled in, short-circuiting anything synthetic. The others were blind now. She wasn't. Kara had learned long ago not to depend on technology. Her scope didn't rely on sensors. Her instincts weren't coded by software. She listened, to wind shifts, to the hush before movement, to the unnatural pause that signaled something alive was trying too hard to be quiet. Below, another patrol was falling apart. From her perch on a moss-covered ledge, she watched 3 Egron soldiers stumble through underbrush, half panic, half pride. One clutched a wounded leg. The others shouted into dead calms. Insects swarmed their armor. Their pulses screamed in her ears, amplified by the micromodules in her suit. She spotted the trap seconds before they triggered it. A cluster of insurgent drones, burrowed into the jungle floor, primed to ambush. Kara adjusted her position, lying flat against the rock. She wrapped her gloved hand around the whisper Fong and steadied her breath. No laser. No warning. Just calculation. One shot, through the ridge, into the lead insurgent's core. The blast ricocheted the others into disarray. She chambered another round, fired again. And again. By the time the last drone hissed and twitched, the jungle had returned to its rhythm. The Egron with the wounded leg looked around wildly. What? Who did that? Kara was already gone. She didn't do it for them. Not exactly. But she wouldn't let Earth's name die in a ditch with soldiers too proud to see past their own myths. She took a longer route after that, deeper into the southern quadrant. Her boots left no prints, her breath no fog. She drank from vines and ate compressed nutrient packs without stopping. Her kills were quick, efficient, and always silent. Word began to spread among the surviving units. Something unseen was stalking the jungle, eliminating insurgents with surgical precision. At first, they dismissed it as a malfunctioning auto-sniper. Then whispers changed. The shots weren't random. They were clean. Human. Vashen's voice returned on an open channel days later, laced with frustration. We're not in need of rescue, human. Fall in line or fall behind. She didn't respond. She tracked him instead, watched his team trudge through unsafe zones, ignoring terrain cover, exposing themselves like bait. They hadn't adapted. Not to this jungle. Not to the enemy. Later, she came upon the remains of another squad. 4 Sithri, picked apart by hybrid hounds. One was still alive, bleeding out under the roots of a bioluminescent tree. He blinked at her through milky eyes. You're the ghost, he rasped. Kara crouched beside him, pressing a bandage to his wound. It was no use. I'm the one they laughed at, she said quietly. The soldier coughed blood, but managed to smile. They're not laughing anymore. He died minutes later. She buried him with her hands. No tools. No ceremony. Just silence. By the 5th day, the jungle was hers. She started manipulating the battlefield, not just picking off enemies, but shaping their fear. Shots came from nowhere. Decoys lured patrols into old insurgent trap. Panic set in. Even hardened alien veterans flinched at shadows. She was rewriting the story they told about humans, bullet by bullet. But fear breeds resentment. Vashen finally found her, half by accident, half by stubborn pursuit. He stormed into a clearing where she'd just finished disabling a tripwire bomb. His weapon was drawn, breathing hard. I warned you, he hissed. You're interfering. You think killing a few scattered drones makes you valuable. Kara rose, slow and calm. You lost half your squads. You're shouting in the open. And your comms give away your position. He aimed his rifle at her chest. Stay out of this, or I'll put you down myself. She didn't blink. Try. They stood in the green light, sweat beading on skin and scales. Then the jungle hissed. Insurgents. 3 hybrid hounds broke from the underbrush behind Vashen. Kara moved before he even turned, 3 shots, 3 kills. Vashen spun, too late, staring at the lifeless bodies sprawled behind him. He looked back at her, breath shallow. That was necessary, she said. You talk too much. She walked past him without another word, fading into the foliage. For the first time, Vashen didn't speak. He just watched her go. The final push came without warning. Just before dawn, the sky split open with noise, no battle cry, no warning. The insurgents moved like a wave, their biomechs charging from the north while cloaked snipers picked off outer patrols. The galactic outpost's perimeter flared and blinked, then dimmed entirely as the last energy shield collapsed in a shower of sparks. Kara had seen it coming. For hours, she'd tracked scattered signals, intercepted encrypted chatter, and watched the jungle grow too still. Now, as the first screams echoed through the comms, she was already in position, lying prone on a ridge that overlooked the battlefield. She marked the insurgent lieutenants first, ones directing the offensive from behind the lines. They moved cautiously, half obscured by dense brush and mimicry drones. Most wouldn't have seen them. Kara did. Her breath slowed, heartbeat syncing with the rhythm of the jungle. One shot. The first lieutenant fell with a crack of bone and static. Another shot. The second dropped before his mouth could form a command. By the time the third crumpled into the soil, insurgent cohesion had fractured. Kara slid back and repositioned, never firing twice from the same place. Below, the surviving galactic soldiers regrouped, confusion breaking into grim coordination. For the first time, they began to move not from orders, but from instinct, trusting the rhythm of disappearing enemies, echoing gunfire, and invisible aid. Kara was their rhythm. She transmitted a single line of coordinates to Central Command: 5 sniper nests, 3 ambush choke points, 2 fallback trap. No signature. Just the data. Someone took it seriously. Within minutes, the outpost shifted tactics. Alien officers rerouted squads through her suggested flank. Sithari and Ruvak soldiers provided cover fire while heavier units took up defensive positions. Still, the insurgents pressed harder. Kara flanked right. She counted her shots, reloading without looking, cycling through thermal signatures, tagging enemy routes. When 2 cloaked snipers tried to outmaneuver her from a ridge, she laid both down before their sensors registered her presence. The comms crackled. Vashen's voice again, calmer this time. "I see your marks. Who taught you this?" Kara spoke without shifting her aim. "No one alive." There was a pause. Then, quieter. "What do you need?" The shift wasn't lost on her. She gave him a frequency, rapid-fire instructions. He didn't argue. Half an hour later, they worked in tandem. Vashen moving alien squads based on Kara's recon, Kara eliminating threats before they reached him. Their old tension twisted into something functional, if not yet trust. Then came the breach. 3 biomechs, heavier than any Kara had seen before, broke through the front gate, slamming into the central outpost where command had holed up. Panic surged through the comms again. Vashen tried to intercept. He and 2 others opened fire, managing to slow the lead mech. The other 2 advanced. Kara broke cover. She sprinted through underbrush, mud slicking her boots, every second measured against how many lives might end if she was too slow. She reached a jagged rock formation 50 meters from the breach, dropped to her knees, and steadied the whisper Fong. 1 mech down. Shot through its control core. Another shot, a glancing hit but enough to expose a weak joint. Vashen took it, following up with a concussive round that shredded the mech's leg. The final one lunged for him. Kara's breath stopped. She aimed. And pulled the trigger. The shot tore through the mech's optical sensor, then into the volatile fuel cell behind it. It exploded in flame and shrieking metal, the shock wave flattening a dozen trees. When the smoke cleared, Vashen was still standing, armor scorched, staring at her across the battlefield. He raised a hand. Not to threaten. To salute. The fight waned after that. The insurgents faltered, then scattered. The galactic commander declared the battle won, but the air felt too heavy for celebration. Smoke drifted across scorched ground. Bodies, both insurgent and alien, littered the field like broken promises. Kara walked through it all, her rifle slung across her shoulder, her uniform streaked with ash and blood. She didn't speak. Didn't look for thanks. She just stopped by the edge of the ridge, and pulled a small notebook from her pack. Leather-bound, pages weathered by time and sweat. Inside were names, her unit back on Earth, her brother, the mentors lost along the way. She added 3 more. Egron. Cythery. Even Vashen's scout, who had died covering a flank Kara had marked. She closed the book. Behind her, footstep. Vashen. He stood a few feet away, awkward in a way that felt unfamiliar coming from someone like him. "They've put in a commendation for you. Said you turned the tide." She didn't respond. He shifted his weight. "I didn't believe in ghosts. But I do now." She looked at him, just once. "I'm not a ghost. No. I'm just a soldier you ignored until it was almost too late." He nodded slowly. "Not anymore." Kara turned back toward the jungle. Its silence was no longer hostile, just resting. For now. The next war would come. They always did. But when it did, someone would remember the woman who didn't need a drone, didn't need backup, didn't even need to speak to win a war. Just a rifle. And silence. The debriefing chamber smelled of sterilized steel and burning circuits, remnants of the battle still clinging to the air, refusing to be scrubbed out. Kara sat alone at the far end of the room, her rifle sealed in its case beside her, the black polymer surface scarred and scored with the memory of 100 silent kills. The rest of the command staff filed in slowly, their armor polished, expressions guarded. Marshal Deneuve entered last, his synthetic eye flickering as he scanned the room. His voice was flat. "The Dranix 4 engagement has concluded. Victory was secured with minimal losses, considering the scale." Muted nods followed. No one looked at Kara. No one, except Vashen. He stood along the wall, arms crossed, his once pristine armor now dulled and dented, bearing the truth of the jungle. His gaze never left her, but it was different now, no mockery, no disdain. Recognition. Deneuve continued, his words hollow. "Some anomalies remain unexplained. Reports of an unseen sniper neutralizing enemy officers with surgical efficiency. Guerrilla-style tactics unaccounted for in the original deployment plan. No confirmation of identity, though several soldiers speak of a phantom." He paused, then looked directly at Kara. "Lieutenant Wynne. Any comment?" She met his eye, her voice quiet but unyielding. "I did what you asked. Secured the quadrant. Eliminated threats. Protected assets. By acting independently. By surviving. And ensuring others did too." The silence that followed was sharp. Deneuve's synthetic fingers tapped against his datapad. "You violated chain of command protocols. I followed the mission. Just not the part where we all die." Vashen stepped forward. "She didn't just help us. She saved the outpost. Without her, we'd be scrap on the forest floor." Deneuve's eye flicked to him, surprised. "You were the one who reported her insubordination." Vashen gave a slow nod. "I was wrong." That admission landed like a seismic tremor in the room. Kara didn't react. She didn't need to. Deneuve turned away, uncertain. "There's no official commendation for ghost work. No medal for being a myth." Kara stood. "Good. Why?" "Because the next time you send humans into a war zone, maybe you'll think twice before assuming we're obsolete." She picked up her case, slung it over her shoulder, and walked past them all, calm, deliberate, leaving behind more than silence. She left behind doubt. And maybe, for the first time, respect. Outside, the spaceport was alive with movement. Troops being cycled out, gear offloaded, med units tending the injured. Ships rose and fell against a burnt orange sky, and beyond that, stars waited like promises yet to be broken. Vashen caught up to her near the transport station. "You're heading out?" he asked. She nodded. "Orders to report back to Sol Command." "I'm being rotated." He hesitated. "They'll send you somewhere worse next." She almost smiled. "They always do." A pause. Then, unexpectedly, he held out a small comm disc. Encrypted line. "If things go sideways again." She took it, turning it over in her palm. You trust me now? I fear you now, he said. That's close enough. She didn't pocket the disc. She handed him a shell casing from Dranix instead, her first shot in the jungle, the one that stopped the biomech advance. He looked down at it, then back at her. What am I supposed to do with this? Remember who fired it. The shuttle announced final boarding. Kara turned and walked up the ramp without looking back. In the weeks that followed, her legend spread, not from her lips but from those who had once mocked her. They called her a phantom, a ghost of the green, the sniper who hunted monsters in silence. Her file remained redacted. Her name vanished from most logs. But her story didn't. Because somewhere out in the systems, in jungles no one returned from, on planets too wild for machines, there were soldiers who remembered. Not just what she did, but what she proved. That humanity hadn't fallen behind. It had just learned to aim quieter.